Good evening everybody, welcome if you follow me, welcome if you're new to following me. You've found my channel for a reason. As you can see, I'm using my Palo Santo sacred wood to cleanse the space and bring in only the highest love and light, you know. So when you're working with the esoteric, you know, the 5D, the world beyond our world, our earthly realm, yeah, you know, you've got to always bring in protection. And yeah, I'm calling in my angels and my spirit team, my ancestors and my high ascended masters, you know, only of the highest love and light. So important, you know, to keep your space, your sacred space, cleansed, and not only your space, you know, yourself. I Palo Santo daily from waking up. That's the first thing I do, and I do it because, you know, when I go to sleep, you know, as my human self, Ellie just goes to sleep as normal. She knows that she can also astral travel, you know, so that's going into other realms and travelling off, you know, into, you know, realms beyond what you can see. But I can always tell, you know, when I've had an astral travel, because I feel like I've done a marathon the next day. And I'm used to it now. And right at the beginning of my twin flame journey, my awakening, 8 years ago now, this year, I had a spontaneous astral projection, and it was, yeah, very, very spontaneous. You know, I just went to bed as normal, and it was it was just as me and my twin flame had separated. So that separation caused soul shock. So that caused the astral projection. And it's the only one I can remember, but I also know now that I do astral, but that is the only one, quite honestly, that I can remember. Even when I've astraled, you know, deliberately, when I've gone into the astral projection myself, I can't really remember them. That was the only one. That was very, very, very beginning of my my twin flame journey. So that was an awakening in itself, you know, because like I say, it was spontaneous. Just the separation caused that soul shock, and it was it was such strange experience, you know. I can see it now well, I remember it like it was yesterday, because it was that strange, you know. So like when you start waking up and you start seeing things, it's like that door that's opened, well, you can't close it, because you can't unsee what you're seeing, and you can't unfeel what you're feeling. So that's one of the things I'll be going in my book, you know, because it's all part of it. So it's all part of what woke me up to, hang on a minute, this is something different going on, you know. I've never done this before. I've never seen my body leave my body, you know, and astral off into you know, into the sky. Like, yeah, I will speak about it one day, you know, on face to face fully, because I know, you know, my soul's ready to share these experiences with people. These are things that I've kept to myself. They will be going in the book, what I am writing at present, slowly, but still, you know, this journey, you can't rush it. No, you can't rush it. But yeah, astral, yeah. Anyone had an astral projection? And you know, it was, you know, the Netflix, I think it was a series, Beyond Their Eyes, was it? And you know, when spirit, I've spoken about the signs and synchronicities, you know, the angel numbers, yes, but there's other signs and synchronicities that spirit leaves for us. And this was right at the beginning stages of my twin flame awakening, so I was still like, what blooming hell's going on here then? What's happening to me now? You know, because I was having the kundalini rising at that time as well, so I was getting the physical, emotional, the mental, the spiritual, all popping off at once. You know, it was just yeah, it was all happening, and I was getting the sounds and synchronicities, not so much the angel numbers, but like things coming through, you know, in films and TV series. You know, spirit will get signs across to us anywhere they want to. You know, they'll use social media. I've had many signs come to me through my phone. They're not adverse to using social media, you know, the technology. They're not adverse to that. But yeah, Beyond Their Eyes. And I remember just sitting down one day and just thinking, oh right, I'm gonna watch this. And I just had the astral projection maybe a day or two before coming across this Beyond. Is it Beyond Their Eyes? I can't remember now, but I can remember how it struck a chord with me, because I've just had this experience that I've never experienced before. And I remember putting it on, and I didn't read about any astral projection going off in it or anything like that. I just remember sitting down and thinking, oh, this looks good, yeah, let's put this on. And literally, I'd say about maybe half an hour, 20 minutes into the first part of it, episode, the astral projection came into it, and I was like, whoa, I've just had one of those. That's what it was. So spirit, you know, was getting signs and synchronicities across to me then. But again, at the very start of your journey, it's so confusing, and you're just trying to, like, I'm going to be honest, just trying to understand, you know, say to yourself you're not going crazy, because it feels like that, you know. And I was dealing with the kundalini rising, so chakras, yeah, the energy rising through my chakras, which now I know had been moving slowly for many years. But, you know, with each merge of my spiritual connection, you know, my twin merging, it's called, it was, you know, rising, and then it hit the crown. So from root to crown, working through all them 7 energy centers. Yeah, when it hit the crown, it was just like, and then my body, you know, it's just like a, yeah, I could see a volcano going off now, you know, and then that lava erupting. Yeah, I've got that vision. It was just like this lava. It was just funneling out, and I couldn't stop it, and didn't know what was going on. But also knew what was going on. My soul, you know, I know now, the ancient soul that I am, knew and knew this, recognised this, what was happening. And again, signs and synchronicities coming through from spirit. And I'm just going to get my book. So yeah, here we go. Spirit wants me to talk about the signs and synchronicities. Now, I didn't know what this reading was going to be about, because I haven't done a reading for quite a while, but that doesn't make any difference, the saying, because, you know, When you're in it, you're in it. When you're on it, you're on it. But this book, yeah, Kundalini. So, talking about signs and synchronicities, and the, you know, the Kundalini rising, that was at the early stage of my journey. You know, the purification of my energy centers, the 7 energy centers. And I know where Spirit's going with this, because this is called your rainbow bridge. You know, and your rainbow bridge is your earth to your heaven. You know, your heaven to earth connection of the 7 chakras, and the purification and the cleansing and the detoxing of these chakras. And that's a Kundalini. Not everybody will have a Kundalini. I did. It's part of my path. It's part of being who I am. I remember the symptoms I was getting when my Kundalini burst open, like that volcano, that lava that I couldn't contain anymore. The symptoms was, I was getting electric shocks through my body, I was getting tingling, I was getting dizziness, disorientation, I was getting hot and cold fluctuations, body temperature. I was getting very, very bad lower back pain. You know, that's the energy working through your chakras. I was getting very vivid dreams. I was getting spontaneous astral projections. I was getting differences in my diet. You know, I was going off certain foods. I was getting allergies. I was getting sensitivities to certain things. I was getting sensitivities to people. Yeah, a lot. There's so much, you know, that you can get, and to each person it's different, you know, because we're all different, we're all on our unique soul journey. But this was one of the books that I was, you know, I knew something was going on with me, because I've done yoga for near on, when did I wake up? So it was just before the pandemic, about a year before the pandemic, I felt a shift. So I'd been doing yoga since my mum had given me a yoga book, which was 20 years, well, maybe more, longer, you know, than 20 years before. So I'd done yoga many years. So, you know, this obviously helped with moving the blockages out of my chakras and connection and all, you know, all of that happens. But this was different, you know, when the Kundalini started to wake up. It was a spontaneous Kundalini, just like the astral. And I was just like, whoa. And I could get shakes. And I remember being in my yoga class one day, and she was asking us to hold the warrior pose. And I couldn't do that because I had trembles. And she noticed. And after class, I was like, I think I've awakened my Kundalini. But the strange thing was, and I'll say it's strange, but nothing strange on this path now, 8 years, you know, forward. But it was strange to me. I was just waking up to all of this. I'd never experienced anything in my life. I knew it was very, very spiritually connected. You know, you can't not know that. But even though I'd never had a Kundalini before, the word Kundalini came to me. So I was like, I'm having a Kundalini. And then, you know, it goes online, spirit guarding me, my angels, you know, but I couldn't hear them as clear back then. I wasn't open, you know, my crown chakra was still opening up, and yeah, my connection to spirit was still opening up, my intuition. But I came across this book that guided me to, again, spirit's not adverse to technology, you know, they'll use it, they'll get through to us. Now, we may not technology, but you know, it's coming in handy to reach out globally, you know, to to what us light workers have to do in this present time, and light seeds and twin flames, you know. So yeah, you know, phones and all that, it's helping us to reach out globally to help others, you know. There's their kundalini, and like through their blocks. But yeah, kundalini, it's not weird, is it, that you just pluck out thin air and say, I'm having a kundalini? I remember thinking it. I had just started to get into kundalini yoga also, but I'd been doing I can't remember the word, but I've been doing certain types of yoga for many years, but I just started being drawn to kundalini yoga and somatic dance and all that, you know. And I remember doing, I was on my yoga mat and I was doing the qigong, because I was also doing qigong as well, you know, other things that move these energy blocks out of the way, keep that energy moving. And I remember thinking, I'm having a kundalini. Like, what's a bloody kundalini? And then this was the very first book that, yeah, Spirit sent me online, and I came across this book, and yeah, it's a very good book. So, you know, if you think, don't know why I'm talking about this, but then yeah, I do know, because there's many people that might be experiencing this. So if you think you're having a kundalini awakening, this is a very good book by Tara Springett. You know, it talks about the symptoms, also about the like people's experiences with it, different experiences. Yeah, the symptoms, uncomfortable, tingling, jerking, shaking, weird body sensations. Yeah, I could get like dropping out feelings out of my body. So I could be sat on the sofa and all of a sudden I'd just feel like I was dropping, but don't know where to drop to, but it just felt like I was, yeah, like weird sensations. Sleep disturbances, hot flushes, yeah, sensations of coldness, increasing appetite, yeah, head pressure, yeah, with all that, insomnia, yes, yeah, like there was like textbook like symptoms of well-known diseases that cannot be found by a doctor, you know. So I didn't go see my doctor at this point. I spoke to my yoga instructor, and then she spoke to a woman that was more aware of it, you know. And she was like, yeah, you're having a kundalini. I mean, at that point I knew I was having a kundalini, but it was good to hear from an expert, you know, that yeah. But yeah, discomfort, pain. I just remember pain in my lower back, and yeah, very different things going on in parts of my body, you know. Oh yeah, also like a spider crawling sensation on the top of my crown. I remember being sat in the car one day, as weird as this sounds, and I could feel something on the top of my head, and obviously there was nothing there, but that's when I realised, I thought, oh, it's hit the crown now, it's hit the crown. Yeah, yeah, I'd have surges of energy also. It says here, higher amount of physical energy. Yeah. I remember not being able to sit down. Yeah, just a lot of different things going on. Says here, yeah, negative emotions, so the emotional kundalini symptoms. So you could, yeah, states of bliss and ecstasy. Yeah, 1 minute I'd be like bliss and ecstasy, and then the uncomfortable side, I'd have negative emotions, strong anxiety, you know, mine was pretty tough Kundalini awakening, because it was, yeah, spontaneous, and yeah, it was, and I had a lot to work through, you know. So, but everyone's different. Everyone's different. I can't speak for others. I can only speak for the experiences I've gone through. And mine was pretty tough. But again, my twin flame path's been pretty tough from day one. And we're talking 8 years now, and it's still tough. But you know, I'm out the darker parts of this journey, more aware now. I could talk about my experiences and help others, you know, which I did have. I'm not going to say I didn't have, because there was people that was put in my path, other spiritual teachers that I found again on the phone. I would come across twin flames teachers, actually, because I didn't even know what a twin flame was, and that might sound a bit daft to some people, but I didn't know what Kundalini was until I knew what Kundalini was, until I was having it myself. And the word, and like twin flame, they're the soulmates, but not twin flame. And then, you know, when you know, you know. So when people ask me, how do you know? It's just, you can't not know. It's a knowing. But yeah, I come across people that could help me on my way. And if you'd have said to me 8 years ago, when just as I'd woken up to my Kundalini rising, I would be helping others, teaching others, guiding others on their healing and their path, how to find that healing in themselves, you know, because nobody heals anybody. No, spiritual teachers, we're just guides to open you up, you know, to open these energy centers up, and then you do the healing. Everybody is at their own healer. But yeah, we all need guides, don't we? We all need, and we all have got guides, the saying. But we all need people that have done it before us, you know, so ancestors, well no, my ancestors, they're saying you are the first Ellie, to do this, which I knew that also. They've told me this before. But spirit guides, angels, you know, they are with us. They are with us from the moment that we come here. But you know, because that'll fail, because we've not done this work, this removing the blockages and the purification and the cleansing of the chakras, 7 energy centers. We've got a lot more chakras, you know, but this is your rainbow bridge. You know, these are your 7 chakras. Goes a lot higher also, you know, your soul star, your earth star. Got a lot more chakras in your body. But they're your, you know, that's your rainbow bridge. I'm going to be doing a course on working with our rainbow bridge. I'm just getting all the downloads coming in as at present, and I'm sorting it out so that I can do, you know, do offerings for a small fee, because Spirit are now telling me it's time to get a return for, you know, the work that I've been doing for the last 8 years. They're now saying I'm in my timeline where, you know, I can profit from it also. You know, and that's another thing I've had to wrap my head around as well. 8 years of helping people and healing and helping people find the healing in themselves, and grid work and all of that. You know, when you're on a spiritual path, you battle with giving your spiritual gifts freely, because, you know, you think well, it's of the God, it's light, it's all of that, it's pure. But then you think that you can't receive anything back from it. Not so. That's a battle with that. That's find that balance. That no, we can make spiritual business out of this also, you know. So yeah, I will be well, it's in the pipeline as at present. So that's why I wanted me to speak about that. So yeah, I'm being drawn to the love, sweet love oracle. So talking about twin flames. And if you follow me, I've just come back from a beautiful trip to France, and very special trip, you know, and I knew it was coming months and months back. That's part of my psychic gives, you know, clairaudience, clairvoyance, sentience, a lot more coming online, and I feel since I've come back from this trip, yeah, I'm truly accepted this path, you know. I did accept it, of course I accepted it. The minute I started to talk about my journey, I'd accepted it. But I've truly found my strength now, you know. And this trip that I went on was to the cave of Eggs in France, and I'm not kidding, but this cave took 4 hours to find. And it just sums up my journey, you know, because it's a long journey. But I had the strength, you know, to keep pushing through. And you know, 8 years ago, I wouldn't have even had the physical strength for me to keep pushing through. But I've come a long way on this journey, you know. And I knew I was there for seeing the cave, so I knew I was going to find the cave. I was just going a long way around, you know, on your twin flame journey. Yeah, you there's no air balloon to get you there. No, there's no quick fix, you know. You can't just, you know, ignite that flame and off you go find the cave. No, it's a long winding road of obstacles. And you know, where I went to, it was all forested. It was pretty rough terrain. Not pretty, it was rough terrain. I nearly cockled over, sprained my ankle a few times. There was pretty steep drops when we got to the top, which we didn't need to go to the top, but there was a reason why I went to the top. And the minute I got to the top, so the summit of the mountain, been climbing for like three and a half hours at that point, scorching heat, just had 1 bottle of water, you know, each, blisters on my feet at that time. Yeah, it's pretty rough, you know, but like I say, this journey, it's been rough anyhow, so whatever was coming that day at me, it's like water off duck's back, you know. I knew I could handle it, being for the West, and I knew I was there to see this cave, so I knew I was not coming home without seeing this cave, because I knew that inside this cave of Eggs was my full acceptance, you know, of this journey. So it was like I won't say the ending, it was more like the beginning of the next phase, you know, teaching others. Yeah, it was funny how I was following my partner and my son, and they was sending us on this wild goose chase on this beautiful forest. Oh, and you could feel the magic in this forest. And this forest is it's known as the sacred forest, you know, the druids that took Mary Magdalene in, you know, and you can feel the magic the minute you step The minute I didn't even have to get in the forest. The minute I started walking up to the forest, I could feel the magic there. And Mary Magdalene was coming through to me, you know, prior to it. And she'd been coming through to me for months. She's one of the ascended divine feminine high masters who comes through to me, you know, on the twin flame path. Because there in Yeshua, there was twin flames. So, connection there, you know. So yeah, we get to the top and I hear X marks the spot. So I'm like, X marks the spot to my son. And he sees an X and he's like, is it here, Mum? And I was like, I don't think we're going to find the cave right at the top of the mountain, son. I think we've gone too far. In fact, I know we've gone too far. But I was just letting my son and my partner take over, you know, because one thought he was still back in the army, which was my partner, and the other thought he was Bear Grylls. So I wanted them to have that, you know, and I wanted them to, yeah, to enjoy it, you know, because I knew they was mainly there for me, but yeah, they love exploring. My son did in his younger days, but I knew they was taking me the wrong way because there was not going to be a cave right up on top. But the view, wow, the view was amazing, and that's when I knew. I thought, I needed to see things from a different perspective, from a higher point of view. This is why I've been brought here. You know, I knew I was going to there for very, very, yeah, powerful reasons. You know, could see it coming. That oracle in me. I knew I was going. If you caught my last reading, I say it on a reading I'd done about 3 months ago. I'm going to go there. I've done it many, many times because I understand that I'm a grid worker also, so I can get dropped off in places to drop codes off or to pick something up, you know, from, yeah, so it can work that way. But yeah, if I get to the top and I'm like, it's not up here, you know, and there was a very steep cliff drop and I was like, right, got to get back down now. So then I'm still letting them take over. So I'm you know, I'm giving them that, you know, boys will be boys and men will be men, won't they? So I was like, right. And then I heard Mary come through to me. She was like, Ellie, sit down. Because I was getting a bit, not doubtful, because I knew I was there to see the cave. But, you know, we only had a few hours, and then the driver had to go. So I was like, right, time is ticking now, you know. So I was getting a bit like, oh, we've got to find this cave. I know I have to go step into this cave. I know it's going to be my full on true acceptance of this long journey I've been on, and I'm here for a reason. My intuition, you know, intuition was telling me that, and Mary was also telling me that. So yeah, X marks the spot, and I was like, right, X marks the spot, okay, right. And I said to her, look, it's not up here, we're going back down. You know, it's inbuilt into the mountain. The cave is in the mountain. We've gone way past it, you know, this journey, twin flame journey. Sometimes you have to backtrack, you know, to find your balance, you know. You have to backtrack to bring in that balance. So we're backtracking now, so I'll get down this cliff again, get past the steep area, then I'm like, right, okay, where do we go, and then so we're backtracking, so we're going back through the forest and nearly cockling over again, and oh, it's getting, you know, I'm getting a bit like, right, what we're doing, we need to find this cave. I mean, I go, right, we need to go back to X marks the spot. I said, we need to go right back, so about half an hour back. Yeah, longest journey ever, but you know, to me it won't, because I've been on this journey, so yeah, it didn't compare. And they're like, right, so they're listening to me. So I'm like, okay, just, I need to sit down, because Mary had come through and she was like, Ellie, sit down. She goes, you know this path, you've walked it many times before, stop following others. So basically telling me to stop following my son, who thought he was Bear Grylls, and stop following my partner, who thought he was back in the army again, and he thought he was, you know, in his 20s, in his 40s now. So them two was going to different directions, you know. One was off in the thingy somewhere, and the other one was, and I was just like, right, Mary, show me the way, please. Show me the way. Give me eyes to see and ears to hear, which is what I first heard as I was just walking into the forest. But I'd let others take direction, you know, I'd let others take the lead. And Mary was telling me, sit down, go into stillness like you've done many times on this journey for 8 years, and listen to yourself, Ellie. It's all there. You've done this journey many times. And I was like, yeah, it's making sense now. So I sat down, I said to my partner, I'm just going to sit down. And I asked Mary, and I said, Mary, please, please show me the way to the cave. Now this is 3.5 hours, back and forward, finding different tracks, you know. What could have been half an hour. Some people took us 3.5 hours. And I know why. I had to learn this lesson and see things from a different perspective. That's why I got took to the very heavy highest point. It's learning a lesson, you know. To trust my own journey, not others. It's my journey. You know, I've been on this journey on my own for 8 years. Yes, with my spirit team and my higher ascended masters guiding me, but not my partner, not my son. I'm the one that hears, sees and feels, you know, all that's come through to me. Forgot that at that point. So I sat down and I said, Mary, please show me the way to the cave. And literally within, I'd say, about 5 minutes, not even that, I heard, follow the rose petals. The rose petals is the trail to the cave. So I opened my eyes and I was like, follow the rose petals. And I looked down on the floor where I was sat, because I was sat on like a stone, like a big stone, and I was like, well, isn't there rose petals? And then she said, walk this way a few more feet. And I started walking in the direction of where my partner was. So there was 2 directions, there was 2 crossroads. My son was at one, he was searching about a few minutes away from us, and my partner had took the other one. And I shouted to my partner, I was like, right, we need to follow the rose petals. And this point, I thought my partner was going to say, what are you on about, Ellie? What's going on now? But it was like, right, okay. And I was like, and I remember his reaction, and I was like, you believe me? And he was like, yeah, we'll follow the rose petals, because I think 3.5 hours into his journey, and he just had a knee operation prior to it, and I think he just wanted to get to the cave at that point, and he was gonna, you know, believe whatever. And I said, she said, follow the rose petals and come this way a few feet. And I couldn't see any rose petals where I was sat. And then I walked a few feet and the first rose petal popped up. As voodoo, as weird, as magical as that sounds, I was like, right, first rose petal. And then I said, shouted to my son, this way, we go this way. So Mary was like, you're on the trail now, keep on it, yeah? And a few more feet, another rose petal, and a few more feet, another rose petal, and so on and so on. 20 minutes, you know, following these rose petals that was just appearing, and I've got the videos on it. Yeah, and even when I said to my son, we'll go this way, he didn't dispute it, you know. He said, right, Mum, okay. I said, well, she's just said follow the rose petal path. Now, the minute she said rose petal, I know what the rose is a symbol of. It's this path, you know, it's the rose lineage path of Mary Magdalene. So yeah, she knew, you know, I'd get that instantly. But I've not seen any rose petals 3.5 hours prior to it, because I didn't have eyes to see and ears to hear. I was listening to everybody else, and I was following everyone else. And she wanted me to, you know, sit down, come back into that stillness, be my own compass, let my heart be the compass. And that's when she said, you know, you've done this journey many times, Ellie. You know the way. Stop following others. You know, that was a beautiful, magical moment. I've had many magical moments that people would not believe. But yeah, I've got proof, you know, on the videos. And I'm going to start posting them. But I'm just getting over the flu. You know, I got back home and I got the flu, and yeah, it's part of the path, you know. I'm integrating these energies, these big energetic shifts that I received on this trip to France, which I knew I would, you know. I'm used to this path. So we follow these rose petals about 20 minutes, and then we come. Well, I say I'm just going to sit down and have a bit of water, and so there's my partner, and then my son. He goes, I'll carry on a few minutes then. So stay on this trail then, follow the rose petals. So my son's following the rose petals. We'd all been following the rose petals at this point. And a few, well, yeah, me and my partner sat down having a bit of water, and then I hear my son go, I found it. No, he rings my partner, sorry, yeah. Because I say to him, can you shout? And, you know, couldn't shout at that point. So then we get a phone call off him, and he's like, I found it. And I was like, yes, I knew it was here. And I could feel it. I could feel it anyway, that, you know, the minute Mary put me on the rose petal path, that my intuition and my guidance come back, you know, on that. And I'd stop following Bear Grylls and my partner. And I'd started listening. And I'd had eyes to see and ears to hear, you know. Yeah, I was following my own compass. And that's all I needed to do, you know. As easy as it sounds. But it's not easy on this path, because you're getting people that think, not that they know better, but that you're getting pulled in different directions, you know. And on your path, it's your soul path. The only direction you need to go in is listen to yourself. Yeah, listen to your compass, your heart, you know. That'll guide you. But I'd lost it at that point. But yeah, so we go, you know, I could feel it was round where I was sat anyhow. So and then when I got a phone call, I was like, right, we're coming. And I've got videos on it also. And just outside, so the portal of it, just as the opening of the cave, oh, there's lots and lots of rose petals, you know. My son anyhow, when he'd seen the trail of rose petals, couldn't miss them, you know. He was a bit befuddled. He was like, whoa, Mum, I know you're psychic, but you know, he'd seen it for himself. And that's another thing, my spirit guides and Mary and yeah, my spirit team, they're showing people around me now what I've known all along, you know. That day, my partner and my son, so what happened themselves, you know. And the minute I opened my eyes, I said, we follow the rose petals, and we couldn't see any. I said, I need to go this way a couple of feet, and the first rose petal was there. Well, you can't make that up, you know. And then the direction totally changed, and we started getting somewhere, you know, after 3.5 hours of being stuck, lost in this forest. They needed to listen to me, you know. I needed to listen to my, yeah, I needed to listen to my spirit team also. I needed to have eyes to see and ears to hear, and then that changed the direction completely, and we was on our way then, you know, literally 20 minutes. What it took us quarter of the day or whatever, you know, 3.5 hours. But they needed to see that. They needed to see what you know, my direction has been like. I know that my spirit team deliberately wanted them to see that. But yeah, I've got some magical stuff to share with you all, because I've been poorly since being back, but I will be showing it all and unraveling it, and you know, that's why I was sent there to bring, you know, bring that back, also to yeah, become more free, you know. I was sent there to fully release myself from these chains, you know, to not listen to others, to not listen to others to tell me what path I'm on. I felt that cave, you know, when I was inside that cave. I'd fully released all that I was going there to release. Felt freedom, yeah, freedom. Like these chains had just broken away. Felt that, and I felt the shift happening in that cave. Felt the shift happening in the forest, and I could feel that what I've been feeling, you know, months and months at home. That's why I was there, to break free, you know, and become fully independent on my soul path. Yeah, true acceptance also. But that's just a little bit of the story, you know. It gets more and more magical, and you know, I've got lots and lots of videos to share with you, but going on to 47 minutes now, so I'm going to cut this off here, but I'm going to come back online. I can feel Mary Magdalene wanting to come through with a card. Yeah, I just felt the urge to come on at this time, you know. Like I say, I'm getting over the flow, and I've not felt no downloads or channeling wanting to come through, but they've been saying rest also. They want me to rest for what's to come. Preparation, you know, been getting me ready, but they want me to rest. They want me to be in that stillness, and that's where the biggest breakthroughs come, you know, when you go into that stillness. Yeah, I had to be still in that forest and stop letting others guide me when I knew the path all along. And she also said, "Welcome home, sister of the rose." Not in the cave, but at the very top of the mountain. I heard her say, "Welcome home, sister of the rose." And I took that as I knew I had to go to the very top of the mountain, you know, and those words like "welcome home, sister of the rose" didn't come through to me in the cave, but they came to me when I was at the very top of the mountain, and I found that really not intriguing, what's the word to do it, not interesting. I had to go, you know, there was no mistake that day of us ending up on top of the mountain. I had to see it. I had to see it from a different perspective, a higher perspective, and that there was the words that she said, "Welcome home, sister of the rose." So yeah, now it's 49 minutes. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to come back on and draw a Mary Magdalene card and a Rose Oracle card. I'll speak to you soon.